I'm Keira and I'm the Public Programming Manager here at the Hangar Flight Museum, and today we're going to have a quick sneak peek into our AEA Silver Dart replica. So this is our replica behind me here. It was made in 2003 here at the Hangar Flight Museum by a group of dedicated and passionate, wonderful volunteers over the span of about 10 months. It was originally made in commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight. Though technically this plane had its first flight in 1909 on February 23rd, which marks now National Aviation Day in Canada, as this was the first aircraft that is heavier than air to make a powered flight in Canada. More so than just in Canada, it was also the first time that a British citizen or member of the British Empire flew in a country that was of the British Empire. So it's kind of a big deal for us here in Canada and overseas in Europe. So it's everything that it's made out of is pretty much consistent with what it would have been made out of back in 1909. The only main difference is that the 1909 model, so the real version, was made with I believe it was rubberized balloon silk, yes. And that's not something that is manufactured anymore and wasn't manufactured in 2003 either. So the only change really is that we have some other airplane fabric instead of that balloon fabric. It was called the Silver Dart because you'll notice the lovely silver color of the wings, and then some of the earlier models by this association, similar thing. We had a white wing, I believe there was a red wing, so it kind of fits in the theme. So the Silver Dart is what we call an aircraft with a canard construction. So what that means is that it has one smaller wing here in front of the main set of wings. So in our case with the Silver Dart here, the wing out in front is actually our elevator. So that is the part of the aircraft, if you're not familiar, that helps with lift going up and down. So normally this is on the back of a plane, but this is a very early model, and as you can see, right in the sight path of our lovely John McCurdy in the pilot seat. But you can see, similar to how an elevator in a modern plane would be connected to the steering wheel, so too is ours through a series of wires and the bamboo here that connects back to John's steering wheel here. So from pulling on the steering wheel is how you'll go up, and then pushing would be going down. We're quickly going to touch on the ailerons of this aircraft. So you might notice our lovely pilot John here is kind of cradled in between these two bars, just over the bamboo here, maybe from under the bamboo. I don't know. So essentially what he would have to do if he was trying to get the plane to roll is either go to the left or right and just kind of push against the sides there, which is a lot of coordination when you're also doing all of these things and flying a plane over a freezing lake. But if you look at the wires here, you can see the way that they connect all the way to the ailerons on the very tips of the wings of the Silver Dart here. All right, so this is our built from scratch replica engine of the Curtiss V8 engine that was part of this project. It was designed by Glenn Curtiss, who is one of the members of the AEA. This is the AEA Silver Dart, AEA standing for the Aerial Experiment Association, which is actually led by Alexander Graham Bell, funded by his wife Mabel Bell, and then another prominent member was Glenn Curtiss, who was a motorcycle manufacturer. So you might actually notice that we do have some motorcycle wheels down on the ground here, as well as those were the original wheels that were used for the Silver Dart. The engine itself is a V8 engine, so typical of something that you might see on a motorcycle or a car more frequently than an airplane. But that's kind of what's really exciting about this Silver Dart replica, is that it does display kind of those early innovations in aviation and how far we've come since then. So you might not find something like a V8 engine in an aircraft these days, but back in the day, this was an exciting way to power your vehicle, be it land or sky, I guess. Speaking with a volunteer who told me that some of the pieces inside the engine are plastic rather than metal, so technically if we wanted this bird to fly, we would have to put the proper engine into it. But aside from that, all of the balancing on the aircraft is correct to scale. We actually recently, as you noticed, have the Silver Dart down on the floor rather than up in the sky, and in bringing it down we discovered that the center of gravity is really good, so the plane is balanced well and should, if it wasn't an artifact and we didn't live in a very wintry place, be able to fly it successfully. That being said, it did fly in a very wintry place in the first place. It was flown in Bedeque, Nova Scotia on February 23rd, 1909. So you might notice that our pilot McCurdy here is wearing a toque and a sweater for the cold weather. One day we'll get him some gloves, but today is not that day.